Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ma'am and friends. We are from the second group, and today we will do a presentation. And the topic is about traditional approach in English language teaching. There are three subtopics that will be presented today. The first one is grammar translation method, and the second one is direct method, and the last one is reading method. And the first subtopic will be presented by our friend Nandatul Faradilla. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, ma'am and friends. I will give a little bit explanation about the grammar translation method. As we know from its name, grammar translation method. So this method will be focused on the grammar competence, and the activity is translating um, from one language into another language. Okay, friends, let's take a look one by one. Okay, the first is, what are the goals of the teacher who use the grammar translation method? So the goals from this method is to make the students be able to read the literature written in the target language. Also, this method emphasizes in the grammatical competence and also the vocabulary in the teaching and learning process. And then the role of the teacher and also the students. The role of the teacher here, the teacher is the has the authority in the classroom because the teacher gives the students directions and also instructions what to do and what they will know or what they will get from the teaching and learning process with this method. And the students only have to follow what their teacher asked them to do. So here in this method, the teacher is more active than the students, and the students is less active because they only follow what the teacher asked them to do. So we can say this method is the teacher as the center. And then the characteristic of teaching and learning process of grammar translation method. So some characteristic of these methods are the students are taught to translate from one language into another language, and then um, the teacher gives the students know about the new grammatical rules, and then the student have to memorize it and then make another example, use the new grammatical rules, and make the example by their own. That's some characteristic of this method. Learning new grammatical rules, and then the example of it, and then the student try to memorize it and then apply it into another examples and make a sentence with that new grammar rules. And then next, um, what is the nature of student teacher and the students to students interactions? So in this method, the interactions, the teacher to the students, um, the teacher is more active than the students. And if the student to the students, they are less active because sometimes the teacher asks them to do the translating by their own individually, not in group. Um, so the interaction in this method is merely from the teacher to the students, uh, and less active for the interactions between the students to the students. So mostly it is about the from the teacher to the students. The teachers transfer the knowledge to their students. And then the areas and skill of language are emphasized. Reading skills is the priority in this method because um, the students give give the text, the literature to the students, and the students have to understand the meaning by translating from the text, and then also the vocabulary building is really emphasized in this method. The student have to translate every single word that they don't know. If they still don't haven't found the meaning of the meaning of some words that they haven't known, they can ask their teacher, and the teacher will provide the answer for the students for every single questions. When the students um, have the difficulties about the meaning of some new words, so the teacher will give the explanation and gives the real meaning of the words that they are confused on. And then the role of students' native language. In this method, the students' native language has an important role because has the important part because in this method, the translation activities from one language into another language, um, the native the students native language is still used because they have to translate it from, for example, Indonesian into English or English to Indonesians. And also in the teaching and learning process, the activity in the classroom, the between between the teacher and the students, they often use their native language. How is evaluation accomplished? In this method, the evaluation accomplished by translating translating a text maybe, and then translating sentence. Mostly the evaluation is taken from the translation activity, and then the student also have to answer some questions given after they they learned new grammatical rules, and then after they read the text, okay, they will answer some questions given from the teacher by the teacher. How does the teacher respond to students error? In this method, the teacher will respond and correct every single error from the students because in this method the teacher think that the every single error will influence the students speaking ability later on. So it's really important for the teacher to correct the pronunciation wrong, to correct the grammatical errors from the students. That's um, to make the error not not to not happen in the future, because they think that error that aren't correct that are error that aren't corrected will be permanent until later on, so it will make our speaking not good for the future. Next, here are some techniques that the teacher can do for the grammar translation method. That's such as translation of a literary passage, reading comprehension questions, antonym and synonym, cognates, deductive application of rules, memorizations, use words in sentences, compositions, and fill in the blanks exercise. These are all the techniques that the teacher can do with their students with this grammatical translation method in the classroom. Some of us already being familiar with maybe some of this technique like um, translations and then reading comprehension questions, antonym and synonyms. Um, from these techniques, um, it, this is try to make the students get the new vocabulary to improve their vocabulary banks, and and how the student to be able in achieve the reading skills well. Okay, next the direct method. It will be presented by my friend Nurbaiti. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, and I will continue the presentation. The next topic is about direct method. As we know that direct method is one of the method that is usually used in the teaching and also learning process. Different with the grammar translation method, um, this method has goal, which to learn how to communicate with another language in a communications communicatively. When the grammar translation method can use the translation in the teaching process, the direct method doesn't allow any translation to be used in the teaching process, but the teachers will convey directly the meaning of a new target language word through gestures or body language or others way to than using the students' native language. Okay, there are three important points in this method. The first is the goals. As what I have said before, the goal from this method is to learn how to uh, do a communication by using the target language communicatively in a communication. And then the principle. The first principle is the goals of teachers who use the direct method. Uh, the teachers teach the student how to say, how to talk, even they teach how to do a communication with the target language in a communication. And then the teachers and student role. The role of student and teachers are like more partner in the learning and also teaching process. So in this method, the teachers try to make the student be more active in the classroom. Okay, and then characteristic of the teaching and learning process. The teacher who use this method believe that the associate meaning of target language directly. For example, like when the teachers introduce a new target language word or phrase, then the teacher will explain its meaning through practice using their body or pictures or gestures to the students, because the grammar point is taught inductively. So the students are presented by the example, and then the students try to figure it out. And then the next is the natures of student teachers and student to students interaction. Um, the initiation of interaction goes a both way, from students to teachers or from teachers to student. And also the student converse with one another as well. And then language and cultures view. So language view is primarily spoken and not written, and the cultures view that they also study about the culture, such as the history and then the country where the target language is spoken, and also some information about the daily life of the speakers of the target language. And then the area and the skill of language are emphasized. For this method, vocabulary is the area that is emphasized, and the skills. This method works on all of four skills: reading, speaking, listening, and also writing. But from the start, communication as a basic, and the pronunciation receive more attention right when the lesson is started. And then the next is the role of students' native language, because direct method doesn't allow any translation to be used, so students' native language should not be used in the classroom. It's like it's not allow any translation in it. And then evaluation is accomplished. Based on the book that I have read, there is no any formal evaluation. But in this method, uh, the students are asked to use the language, to use the target of language, not to demonstrate their knowledge about the language. And then the teacher responds to the student errors. So the teacher tried to get the students self-correct when it's possible. And then technique. There are some technique that can be used in this method. The first one is reading aloud, and then question and answer exercise, getting students to self-correct. Self-correct is done by asking the student to make a choice between what they say and also the alternative answers. That's self-correct. And then conversation practice to improve their speaking and then communication. So conversation practice is needed to be done. And then fill in the blanks exercise, and then dictation, and then map drawing, and the last is paragraph writing. Okay, the next subtopic is about reading method, and it will be explained by our friends Nandatul Faradilla. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last method that we will explain today is reading method. From its name, of course, this method is emphasized on the reading skill. So the reading skill is the primary or the priority skill to be achieved by the students. Based on the book that I've read from Patel, Pravan, and Jane, um, um, the from the reading method, people think that if the students able in reading well, they will be good enough also for the speaking and also writing. And from the reading method, it gave us some advantages and also disadvantages. Um, the advantages from this method is like from reading we know that we will get more information, we will get new knowledge, and also we will get a new vocabulary because we will try to find the meaning of the new words that we haven't known before in the dictionary to understand the overall content of the text that the teacher given to us, the students. But um, from these methods, it also has its advantages. Like because this method is really to focus on the reading skills. Although actually in the learning language, especially English as the target language, it has four essential language skills to be achieved. They are listening, reading, speaking, and also writing. Um, and then some activities that the teacher can do in the classroom is like giving the students the text, and then encourage the students to do the skimming, and then and then scanning, and then maybe the students are asked to do reading aloud from the text. And I will uh, give some no, from the book that I've read. There is some students' roles in this method. The first is recognizing the script, and then the student have to translate the new words because they want to understand the content of the text, and then they do the deducing. For the teacher, the roles um, are the teacher have to motivate their students to be able to be a good reader, and then and also the teacher have to support the student with the strategies of reading, how to fasten the students ability in understanding the text. Okay, I think that's all for our presentation today. Thank you so much for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.